Okay, here we're going to try to make a part called a guide slider. We should have already sketched this in our notebooks because some of the dimensions are not obvious from this view here. I've previously made it before, and this might be a little better view. It's the front view, and this is the isometric view. So let's try to make this entirely in a sketch and then just extrude it back. So there's some things that I want to show you that are new. The center point on a circle, that would come in the drawing, and we might use another tool. Let's see what we do. What we do here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I don't want that. Okay, we're going to come here, and we're going to start a sketch on the XY plane, and I'm going to do something that I occasionally do, is I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm just going to draw the face of that thing without caring about dimensions for now. All I'm going to do is make sure that the angles between subsequent segments are at 90 degrees with respect to one another when they should be, which is pretty much everywhere except the business at the top, which has some arcs and diameters. So you can see that I'm just making sure everything is, let's see, everything is perpendicular where it should be. Now I'm just going to assume now that the rounded part isn't there, and I'm going to start off with maybe a simpler system. You see how Inventor kind of anticipates what I'm going to do and starts to help me out. And we'll come over here to here and then close up, right click. Okay, so we have this. Now, before we slap on dimensions, we need to realize that if we put a dimension in the wrong place early in the dimensioning process with this dimensional constraint, then the part is going to distort in such a way that it's hard to get it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dimension these little tiny or smaller pieces so that they remain rigid in size, and then I'm going to dimension the big parts. So let's start this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make this, excuse me, 0.5. Oh my goodness, what happened there? Okay, there we go. That's 0.5, and I believe this here is 1.5. Let's try that. 1.5. Okay. Now let's not get carried away. Let's make sure we get all the little parts in there. This part here is 0.25. 0.25. And this part here, we still have to tell it is 0.5. And this one, okay, that was already, you may have noticed when I originally sketched it, Inventor kind of already made that to match this. So had I attempted to dimension that, it would have been what's called a driven constraint, and we don't need that. Okay, whoop, forgot this guy. He was about to get smushed. 0.5, I believe, yes. And this guy as well, 0.5. And we have 2 dimensions left, so now I think I'm comfortable making this 4. Alright, now we have 1 dimension left, and that would be this distance here. I'm going to make that maybe 3.5. So I'm doing something that I'm a little more familiar with, which is making rectilinear type objects, things that have right angles. Okay, let's put that hole in. So I'm going to take the circle, and again I'm just going to plop it down anywhere, pull out, left click, right click, OK. So I placed it, and now I'm going to dimension it, just like I did with the previous part. Again, rather than dimension it as I go. So the first dimension, I'm going to, I think you'll find out that if you look at the dimension at the plans, that's 3 inches. And then from here to here is 2 inches. Oh, is that right? 2.5, yep. That looked a little funky. 2.5. Okay, yeah, centered. 2.5 and 3. Good. And finally, what we're missing, though, however, is the diameter of the thing, which is 2.5. All right. Now, I've got this sketch. It's pretty busy. So I'm going to come to our plans here. We've got this arc here of radius 2.125. But the original figure for this was it was cited as a diameter of 4.25. So those, of course, are equivalent. So I'm going to make a circle to match this up with center here. That's the only logical place the center could be. And then I'm going to show you, I think I'll be able to show you a tool which is pretty cool when you're doing sketches. So let's go back to the circle. Let's make it center there. I'm going to pull out. And I'm really not sure. Okay, let's just put it in there this time. 4.25. Is that right? Okay, there it is. 4.25. Yep. Okay. All right. So that maybe we can get rid of some of the grid lines to clear that up. That really doesn't look like that, does it? So we're going to use this awesome tool called Trim. So if you come up here to the Modify panel and hit Trim, what it does is it removes segments of a sketch between points where it intersects with something else. So I'm going to just trim out stuff that is not consistent with what I'm trying to do, right? I want that, oops, trim this as a dimension. Oh, that's got a dimension. Okay, if you try to trim out stuff that's got a dimension, then it'll complain. So, but somehow I got to get rid of these two. This guy right here. So I have to relax this dimension. So let me right click OK to get out of trim. Let me just delete this dimension. Okay. Now I can go back to trim. And it's gone there. And that might be our part. Did I forget one? I don't think so. Let's see. Finish. Well, the truth is in the extrusion, I guess. So I'm going to extrude. Oh, I got some. No, that's the. Let's do this thing called a symmetric extrusion. So this is coming out, direction 1. If you hover, you'll see it. This is direction 2. This is a symmetric one. We could do any of those three. I'm just doing the symmetric one to illustrate its existence. 1.25. Okay. And we have this part here, which I think it's okay. It looks pretty much like this one. All right, let's save it. So I'm going to call this Guide Slider 2. I've already made one. And let's make a drawing to make sure that everything's good. Create, okay, skip all, Guide Slider 2, Guide Slider 2-11/2017. Okay. So the base is going to be this guy. And I wonder if I can make him a little bigger. I don't think he'll fit there. No. Okay, put it down there. We're not going to want these right in top, to be honest with you, as we're just trying to illustrate this stuff. So always like my isometrics to be shaded. Okay, let's see if we can get to work on dimensioning this thing. So I'm going to go to Annotate. And if you look at it here, you can see we've got some chain dimensions starting at the lower right here. Otherwise, it's just kind of, there's a baseline dimension, I guess, from there. Let's just go to it. So chain, we're going to go left click, left click, left click, right click, continue, pull it down till it pops, left click, right click, create. So far so good. Let's go ahead and get this distance here, and it won't let me bring it down. So I'm going to left click, OK. I'm going to right click OK, and then I can move it down. I think I want to move it down there to get it off the part. Okay, so far so good, and let's just go and oh, here's what I wanted to show you. Yeah. So when you have a circle, there's a thing up here called the center mark. So I'm going to click the center mark, and then I'm going to click the circle, and it gives us a center that we can dimension to. So here, let's just go ahead and, okay, keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and do that one. Okay, then we're going to go here and we're going to dimension the location of that circle. And then we're going to again continue to locate it by this method. I think we're doing okay. Is there anything else we're missing? Yes, we are. We're missing, so use that scroll wheel, click, come up. Okay, so we have that. I think that's everything except for the curved parts. So let's go ahead and dimension those. So this one, I'm going to make it kind of small so it doesn't interfere with the 2.5 up there. And then this guy is right here. Okay, that's supposed to be a diameter of 4 1/4. Or a radius of 2.125. Well, we don't have the precision there, so we all know what to do there. We're going to go up to Manage, Styles Editor, and we use the default ANSI. Come here, make it a precision of 3 digits after the decimal, yes, and I think that's okay. All right. So to summarize, a couple things we learned were that you can make a part using the line tool without dimensioning as you go, but then you need to be careful to make sure as you dimension things you don't distort the part beyond recognition. My experience is that if you rigidly dimension some of the smaller parts first, and then you can go into the larger ones, it won't distort too much. And you might like that method better than just dimensioning as you go. Okay, we learned about the awesome trim tool that you can use in sketches and to get rid of lines you don't want. We learned about symmetric extrusion. Wasn't really needed here, but why not show it? And we learned about the this guy right here, which is the center mark. And that allows us to dimension to the center of a circle. So that is the guide slider. Thank you for watching.